What's going on, guys? Sammie D, alcoholic addict from southwest suburbs of Chicago. I'm 21 years old. This is my home group. I've been coming to 5D for 2 years now, which is insane. My last sip of alcohol was October 30th of 2020. So I was 19 at the time. And my last drug that I ever took was January 3rd, 2021. So we're getting close to another a year for that one. So I'm going to share some experience, strength, and hope for you guys in hopes that helps somebody. So I started drinking when I was 14. I had just graduated 8th grade, was going into high school. My parents have an open bar downstairs and they used to work pretty long hours. So a lot of the times I was home by myself with my brothers. Always dealt with mental health issues since the age of like 10. I do have PTSD. Went through a lot of early on trauma, was adopted from an orphanage in Bulgaria. And if you know anything about orphanages, they tend to be anything but helpful to the kid. So there was a lot of abuse and a lot of neglect because of that. I have some fine motor skills, some developmental delays, and head trauma that I have to deal with now on a daily basis. Trigger warning, sexual abuse is also part of my story. It actually happened in this room that I'm in from a family member at the age of 10. So I drank to escape. I'm sure a lot of us can relate. They didn't want to feel or wanted to be someone else. So for me, when I was drinking at the house by myself, it was just to numb, it was to escape, not to feel, think, or deal with anything. And then when I was at a party drinking, it was to become less socially anxious and more sociable. And drinking seemed to help both of those. When I was here, it seemed to help escape. And then when I was at parties, apparently I was the life of the party and was talking to everybody. And that's not naturally who I was at the time. I was also an athlete in high school. And when you're an athlete in high school, you can't drink and you can't smoke. If you get caught doing it, they pull you. So I had to hide it for the majority of my time in high school. I started using around that same time and then dealt with multiple injuries from basketball and then was put on injury reserve for the very last year. So I didn't have to hide my drinking or my using at the time. So it was known to everybody at that time when I was a senior that I was all for it. Anything you got, give me. And drinking and using got worse as I got older. So 14 it started and finished when I was 19. But by the time I was 19, I had almost died numerous times from my drinking and using. I had put myself into dangerous positions, like sleeping in alleys in the west side of Chicago. Not the smartest move. Drinking and driving. Luckily, no one got hurt and I didn't get caught. And possible overdoses, all of that stuff. So it wasn't getting better. It was just getting worse. And it wasn't getting fun. It was just getting awful. It was fun until it wasn't. I was young at the time. So I thought, well, it's just what everybody does. They drink, they use, they go to parties, wake up in a random trap house. But it's actually not what I should have been doing at the time because my mental health was getting worse. I was suicidal. I had attempted numerous times. And I was also starting my first year of college when everything spiraled out of control. And I failed my entire year of college. First year, failed. The only class I passed was College 101. And I shit you guys not, we sat there and sang Kumbaya for 45 minutes and got graded for it. So that's why I passed. The rest of it, I ended up failing. Then I tried to control my drinking right around COVID. And when the pandemic started, I was like, oh, I can control it somewhat. So I tried doing only certain types of drinks at a certain time, tried spacing it, but never worked. I'm an alcoholic. I can't drink controllable. That's just how it is. Pandemic came, drinking and using spiraled all throughout high school. I get kicked out of my house because I came home drunk at 2 a.m. And apparently I threw up everywhere, which I don't remember. But my parents were like, you know what? We've had enough. You're never sober, failing school. We've had enough. So they sent me to go live with my brother in his apartment. And he had a 1-bedroom apartment. And then he had like a little extra storage room, which is probably the size of a bathroom, maybe. And I had a pull-out couch. So I slept there and lived there for a whole month. And that was when I tried to buy a gun to take my life. But the guy who I was going to buy it off got COVID. So at the time, I was like, what the hell? But Now I look back on it, and I was definitely my higher power right there, keeping me here. Went back to my parents' house after first month living with my brother, and I wasn't drinking as much, but I was using 10 times more. Anything I can get my hand on, I was taking. So it wasn't any better than my drinking, because if anything, it was killing me faster. At that time, I started to develop an eating disorder. So I wasn't eating and was just using constantly. So when I finally went into treatment in the winter of 2020, they told me if I would have waited a month and kept doing what I was doing, so using, not eating, not taking care of myself, that I would have been dead by New Year's. So I wouldn't have made it to 20. So I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of crazy. So I was in treatment then for that, and then at the same time started coming to AA. I came to 5D in January of 2021 and been coming ever since. Got a sponsor, went through the steps, went to a few in-person meetings. My first in-person meeting, I gave the lead, had no idea what that meant, didn't know what I was doing, but apparently they liked it. And then things started to get better. Quit drinking in October, and I was no longer a dry drunk. I was actually working the program. I was back in therapy, finally sober, back in school. And then I'm a straight A student now that I'm sober. I got a 4.0. And if I didn't stop using and drinking, that would have been like a 1.8 probably. I think that's what I had my first year. And I got that over the last 2 years, I got that 1.8 to a 4.0. And that was because I was sober, in the right mindset, and actually motivated to get better and to move on in life. So currently, like I said, still sober, still in school, still going to therapy regularly. Yeah, things are better. I never thought that I could live without alcohol or get through things without alcohol. So for example, yesterday, one of my friends from high school passed away in his sleep at 21. And on the same exact day, but just 2 years later, that another one of my friends passed. So 2 friends on the same date, just 2 years apart. So it's currently what I'm going through right now. I didn't think I'd be able to get through that sober because 2 years ago, when that first friend died, the first thing I did was go use and not be sober. So I never thought I can get through certain things sober. In my sobriety, I have dealt with resurfacing of trauma, dealt with that sober, family issues, dealt with that sober, back into treatment, dealt with that sober, and then now the loss of my friend, hence the blue lights. He had pulmonary fibrosis, so that's why there's blue lights on. So you can get through things sober. They suck in the moment. They suck in the long run after dealing with them, and you have to still think about them. It's not easy. But when you're sober and you're working a program, you have people, you have the fellowship, you have your sponsor, you have your friends. So you have people to reach out to. You have your higher power, and that could be Jesus, Muhammad, God, Beyonce, whoever it is. You have that, and that definitely will help you get through it. Coming to meetings too helps you get through it. Like I'm talking about it right now, which is helping me, which is also possibly helping one of you guys. So if you guys come to the meetings, talk about it, have some confidence in yourself too. I know when you're early on in sobriety or you're coming back or you're just trying it out, things are a little stressful. You're a little anxious. You're like, I don't know if I can do this. That seems really difficult. You can do it. Just have faith in yourself and the people around you that are helping you. The fellowship is really important because you meet a lot of people. Some have similar experiences, some don't. But at the end of the day, we're all alcoholics and we're all trying to get sober. So all 85 of us right here on a Sunday night are helping each other. You guys are helping me stay sober and I'm helping you guys stay sober. It's day at a time. You can't think too far in advance and you can't think too far back. You have to be thinking in the moment, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day at a time. So right now at 8:53, I'm choosing to stay sober. What I do in the next 30 minutes, that's my choice and that's on me. What I do in the next hour is my choice and that's on me. But I know for a fact that I don't need to go back out there and I don't need to pick up again. I don't need to drink again because I have the solid program one, but I have a whole group of people who have my back. 83 people. Like I said, that's a lot. And I have reasons to stay sober. And if you're looking for a reason to stay sober, look in the mirror. You're your biggest reason to stay sober. You may have family, kids, jobs, dogs. That is also a big reason, but you are your biggest reason to stay sober. because you're worth staying sober, you're worth getting sober, and you're worth being here. With addiction, the end game is either dead or you could end up in jail. So that's why telling yourself each day, I'm worth getting and staying sober, I'm worth doing this, will help you, because your life is worth more than a bottle or a baggie, whatever it is. You're worth way more than that. And you have a big chunk of people who are willing to help you in the process. And you can be 15, 19, 90, 70, 60, however old you are, it doesn't matter. Addiction doesn't discriminate on age, doesn't discriminate gender, sexuality, race, nationality. It just comes. No matter who you are, you can do this. I've seen a 90-year-old at an AA meeting before, and I've also seen a 14-year-old at an AA meeting. So there's no age range for this, but you can do this. And if there's things going on in your personal life that are tough, talk about it. Or if you don't want to talk about it, journal about it, or talk to your higher power, whoever that is. And that will help. Don't keep things in, because that's just going to boil up over time. Almost 2 years completely sober, about to move out of my parents' house. Things are pretty good. I have more outlets now. I don't need to go run back to my old coping mechanisms. I have the gym, I have basketball, I have a bunch of other things that I could do. If you're new here, keep coming back. If you are coming back, keep coming back. You guys got this. It's just one day at a time. And have some faith in yourself. Be easy on yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself, because you're trying your best. That's about all I have for today. Thanks for letting me share, Charlene.